The Frenchman's apartment is dim and cluttered with odds and ends. He leads her down the hall and into the kitchen, where she sees the wine and cheese on the table, Kraft singles and Manischewitz. The counter is a junkyard of broken appliances. "Please," the Frenchman says, "sit down." He sets 2 small jelly glasses on the table and hobbles over to the pantry to fetch a box of crackers and a plate. The neon artist perches gingerly on a chair, its final seat the faded red of a Shirley Temple cocktail. "So," she says, "have you won $1 million yet?" He says, "No, not yet." He chuckles. "I need to go to Las Vegas to find my $1 million. Maybe one day we will go together." "Maybe so," says the neon artist. She has never been to Vegas, though she has pored over many pictures of its magnificent artistry. It is one of the few places in the world where neon is not only still allowed, but celebrated. The Frenchman pours the Manischewitz and holds up his glass. Salud. The neon artist clinks her glass against his. She takes the smallest of sips. The liquid is thick and sweet, difficult to get down. The Frenchman empties his glass and pours himself another. He offers her more, saying, "The Jews make good wine, no?" "No," she thinks, but nods politely and takes another sip. She looks at the doddering appliances on the counter. The Frenchman and his blenders are going to grow older and older, and one day they will cease to exist. In a way, they already have. This room is like a waiting room between this world and the next, filled with music and incoherent mumbling, and intermittent ringing of the telephone. Except no phone. The Frenchman has no phone. He is that disconnected from the human world of news and conversation. "What is it you are doing up there all this time?" the Frenchman asks, gesturing above his head. "I work with neon." It's been a long time since anyone has asked. She takes a minute to enjoy the cryptic, almost grandiose sound of the statement. Already the wine has a fierce and sticky hold on her tongue. "Ah, the neon light. It is from France, yes?" "Yes." The neon artist smiles, pleased that he knows this. The Frenchman refills their glasses and holds his up to the air. To light. He clings his glass against hers and downs the contents. The neon artist takes a larger sip. The terrible sweetness is becoming easier to tolerate. It sears a path down her throat and into her chest. "It's a bit like lightning, neon," she tells the Frenchman. "The electric principle is very much the same." "A beautiful thing," the Frenchman says, and the neon artist isn't sure if he's referring to lightning or neon or both. "I remember during the war the lights went out for days," he says, growing somber. "A terrible time that was, so much fear and poverty. You've never seen such poverty." "Terrible," the neon artist agrees, with a solemnity precipitated by wine. "Ah, yes, but that was long ago." The Frenchman nods, his gaze reaching somewhere over her left shoulder. Then his face brightens. "I know what we need," he says, pulling himself to his feet. "Music." He totters over to the corner, where a record player nestles between a dusty vacuum cleaner and a 4-foot stack of yellowed newspapers. He adjusts the needle on the record, and it miraculously comes to life. A lilting melody, a woman's voice crackling with time. The Frenchman totters back and holds out his hand. "We must dance." She wonders how he will respond to her touch, a man already broken in half a dozen places. So far she has been careful to avoid the glance of his fingers during their toast, the shuffle of his foot in the small kitchen. But there seems no way to politely decline. And really, why not? The Frenchman has a flush in his cheeks, a sparkle in his eye. His soup is less pronounced than usual. "All right," she says. Gingerly, she places her hand in his. As she stands to meet him, he grows. Not so much like a tree as fruit on a vine, everywhere all at once, yet almost imperceptible. His hand tightens around hers. His arm circles her waist firmly. She hasn't been held in what seems like ages. She closes her eyes to better feel the music, the embrace, and the Frenchman leads her into a gentle waltz. After a moment, she realizes that they are no longer dancing on the dirt-speckled tiled floor, but among the molecules of air, floating really, like figures in a Chagall painting. and like a Chagall painting, the colors of the room have grown incredibly vivid. The vinyl chair cushion a circle of cherry red in her peripheral vision as she spins, their reflection in the chrome of the broken toasters on the counter, a whirl of cobalt blue and emerald green, her hair in a fiery pile atop her head. She looks up, for the Frenchman is now certainly a foot taller than she, and his jaw has grown smooth and strong. His eyes stare back at her intently, as if seeing her for the first time. "You dance beautifully," he says. He is 30 years younger. The accent is all but gone. There is a term she learned in school, sprezzatura, effortless grace. She never understood it before. She understands it now. She feels her heart slip through the cage of her ribs like a sparrow and fly to meet that of the Frenchman. This is what it could be like. Hand against back, wrist against neck, tempo and exhalation. And beyond that, life stretched out like a banquet table, gleaming with possibility. The record ends, the needle lifts, and their feet hit the floor with a rude thump. The Frenchman is old once more, smiling faintly with his 3 good teeth, sweat beaded on his wrinkled skin. Again, his gaze falls somewhere over her left shoulder, and she realizes that he is going blind. She helps him over to his chair. He is wheezing, his stoop more pronounced than ever. "One more toast," he says, pouring the Manischewitz again, this time spilling several drops on the table. The neon artist obliges, although the wine has grown too sweet again and the air too thick. She is suddenly anxious to get back to her own apartment, to the quiet comfort of her studio. When she glances back at the Frenchman, he is slumped over in his chair. His breath is now shallow, infrequent. His eyes are closed. His face is paler than usual. It has taken on a bluish tinge. Is this it? Her anxiety blooms into fear. She goes to his side and puts her arm under his. "Let me help you to bed," she says. She hoists him up and leads him to his bedroom. His skin is scaly against hers, and the pinkish skin of his scalp beams obscenely through the sparse covering of silver hair. Once in the darkened room, the old man crumples onto the bed. The neon artist kneels at his side. If he dies in the night, she will pour out her chemicals. This decision forms in her mind with the clarity of hot glass, then sinks into her chest, enveloping her organs. She recognizes the burn of loss, and it feels a little like freedom. She rests her chin on her folded arms and watches the shape of his breath, the faint rise and fall of his chest in the dark.